2,950. That's how many days ago I lost my eyesight. Well, like the majority of it. I'm not totally blind, but I call myself blind because it's just easier that way. I'm cutting up some chicken breasts right now that I just did on the Traeger, so you're gonna listen to me talk while I do that. Hopefully I don't cut any appendages off. Anyway, so 2,950 days ago, I woke up, drove myself to work, stopped a few places before I got to work. Within the first hour of me being to work, my vision went basically totally blurry. Blurry enough that I couldn't like distinguish object really, anything like that. So over the course of the next hour, I had my fiance at the time, now wife, had come in to grab something from me at work. And this has all happened while I'm just sitting at my desk. And so she comes in and I'm telling her, hey, I can't see, like my vision's blurry, whatever. And end up going to urgent care. And so get to urgent care. Obviously my heart rate's crazy high, my blood pressure's crazy high. Like they're trying to do like, you know, vision tests and all that crap, like whatever. Essentially they thought I was having a stroke, so they referred me out to the emergency room. And this is going to be a longer video than like what I normally do, so you want to stick around, that'd be awesome. If not, I totally get it, but this is just like me talking about me going blind. First time I've ever made a video of me actually doing that. I've made tons of other videos doing other random stuff or my other blind videos and that kind of thing, but I'd love to have you stick around. Anyway, so I end up at the ER. They pretty much immediately, once they hear my name and everything, they immediately just, you know, get a wheelchair and wheel me back to a room. And they essentially, you know, from what we gathered, they thought, you know, I was suffering a stroke or something like that. And so over the, you know, course of me being at the emergency room, they end up doing some tests, and they do ultrasounds on my eyes, which that was crazy. If you've ever had an ultrasound anywhere, mostly if you're, you know, a female with a baby, you know, you get ultrasounds, but through my entire journey so far, over the last 8 years, I've actually had ultrasounds on a lot of different things, so, which is a whole nother story. But anyway, so they find, after they do ultrasounds, that I had, my retinas were essentially hemorrhaging. So they found acute chronic retinal tears is how they described it. And they didn't know why it was happening, but they essentially referred me to a retina specialist, an ophthalmologist that's, you know, a specialist in retinas and stuff. Anyway, since it happened over the holidays, because it happened on, I don't know if I said it, but it was December 23rd, 2017. Since it was right before Christmas and New Year and everything, to get into a retina specialist, it was just about 10 days after the 23rd, right around there. It was just about a week and a half. Anyway, get to the retina specialist, and they end up doing, you know, different tests, and they gave me this crazy medication that essentially any light source that I could see, which like everything was still blurry at this point. So it wasn't like I couldn't see anything really. And so any light source had turned like this crazy red color. And so, and it happened slowly, like, you know, it was over the course of, I don't know, maybe only like 5 minutes or so, but it wasn't like instantaneous. So they do that, and I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. I'm thinking I'm in like a horror movie, or I actually at the time had joked around that I was in the Upside Down. So yeah, if you know Stranger Things, which who doesn't nowadays, but anyway. So after they do all that and they do all these different eye scans and stuff, I'm talking to the ophthalmologist, and he is asking me, you know, hey, are you diabetic? And I, you know, told him, no, I've never been diagnosed with, you know, diabetes, anything like that. And he's like, well, because what I'm seeing in your eyes is what I see in like my diabetic patients that have been diabetic, you know, like their entire life. And it's like older patients, you know, 70 plus or whatever, maybe even in their 60s plus. Some of them, like, it's the ones that are, you know, missing like a finger or a leg or whatever. But anyway, so he asks me all that, and I had told him, no, I've never, you know, been diagnosed with anything like that. Anyway, we get labs done and find out, you know, a few days later after I got labs done that my A1C was really high. It was like 13, if I remember right. It was 12, between 12 and 13, if I remember right. And so my glucose levels were really high. So that is essentially how I lost my vision, was due to like undiagnosed diabetes. It's called diabetic retinopathy. And essentially what happens is the like blood vessels in your eyes hemorrhage, and when there's so much glucose in your you know, bloodstream, those vessels, they can't heal basically, so they're always just bleeding. So had to get that under control, like all my sugars, which nowadays that's great, you know. But yeah, like the damage is already done over the course of the next few years. Had multiple eye surgeries. I had on my left eye, I actually had a complete cataract at one point. So it was actually the only time that, being out in public anywhere, someone would ask me like, hey, are you blind? Because my eye actually was like gray. I looked like a Bond villain or something. But I mean, like, that's what I just guessed from how people talk to me. But so, yeah, it was all due to undiagnosed diabetes. Never really had any symptoms that I could pinpoint. Now looking back, it was so long ago, you know, there were probably signs that maybe I had ignored or whatever, but it's just not anything that I would have ever accounted to that. So, but yeah, that's my blind story. First time making a video of it. If you've made it this long, awesome. Thank you so much. Just trying to spread, you know, as much awareness as possible. As you know, if you've watched some of my other videos lately, I'll answer any questions, you know, feel free to ask whatever. Sorry, this is like a longer video as well. It's not what I would typically do, but I figured I've never done a like video where I've actually talked about my eye condition and what I can see now after, you know, many surgeries. I get eye injections every 3 to 4 months, all that kind of stuff. What I can see now is my left eye is basically just light sensitivity. Like if there's light and I wave my hand, I can see like the motion of my hand or whatever. And then my right eye is, I call it like a crescent moon, because it's the right side of my right eye peripheral. And it's a crescent moon because there's nothing like down low. So like little kids running around in front of me is like scary, because I would run right into them, or little dogs or whatever. But it's a crescent moon in the sense that it's like the right side of my peripheral, and it kind of comes down and swoops over a little bit, but none of it is clear. It's still blurry. So I see, like, you know, I mostly do things by contrast. But so that's what my vision looks like. Like I said, if you have any other questions and you've made it this long, thank you so much. But if you have questions or anything, feel free to ask. I love answering questions as long as they're respectful. So if you get some shade back, if you're being a dick, you'll get some shade back from me probably, but it'll all be out of love. Don't worry.